Hey, what's going on tonight, Internet? And what's going on, Reddit? I want to welcome everybody, all my subscribers, and all the OCPoetry fans who are tuning in. Thank you so much for being part of this community. Thank you to the moderators for giving me this platform. So cool to be back on. And I thought it'd just be fitting to open up the show tonight with a wonderful poem from Lotai. I thought I'd just read to everyone. Really just warms my heart to see this type of thing going on. So here we go, trolling you, Mexman. My name is Mr. Mexman, and I like to go a-trolling. I look as if Jesse Eisenberg got hexed by Josh Brolin. I'll slap together a video in 30 minutes or less. Then I'll put it on the OC, 'cause my opinion is best. My unhelpful feedback might make me seem dim, but my poems are so magical you can't even see them. So let's raise the roof up for Lotai here. Keep them coming, guys. I can't be one of those people who can dish it out but can't take it, and I think it's funny. And if you don't think it's funny, you can get stuffed. So right on. So before I bring in our special guest tonight, I do want to say I have big plans, and I'll try to bring in guests whenever I can, whenever they'll put up with you guys and put up with me. Then we'll see if we can get on to join us to partay. And let's get it on. All right. Tonight we have Dr. Keeley Schell joining us on the channel. I'm very happy to have her here. Keeley, I understand you are a doctorate in classical philology from Brown University. So I guess that kind of makes you an expert in classical poetry. Forgive me, but what exactly is classical poetry?
Well, our version of classical poetry when I was studying classics was mostly Greek and Latin, but you could take aside a Sanskrit. But it's anything that has sort of gotten enshrined as long-standing excellence. So there's English classical poetry, and that's just a few hundred years old. Or you could go back and find Persian classical poetry. So I happen to be an expert in Greek and Latin, but there are many other classics that you can find.
What do you think makes some of this poetry, Greek and Latin poetry, so special and so studied? And of all the poetry, why did you decide to specialize in Latin poetry and Virgil in particular?
I guess that's two separate questions.
Great.
So I'll start with what makes Greek and Latin poetry so special and so studied. And I think it's because of how much it's been used over the intervening centuries. So if you have read the Iliad and the Odyssey, if you've read the Bible, if you've read Virgil, you're going to keep seeing echoes from those again and again. And it's going to make your understanding so much richer of what somebody like Shakespeare was doing, or even, someone a couple of decades ago, what they were doing with their own work. What drew me to Latin poetry and to Virgil is that my favorite aspects of poetry are similes and metaphors. And he does them in a really memorable way. And they're such a central part of his work. I started reading it and I just couldn't stop.
What do you think poets today, working today, can learn from the classical tradition?
Well, a lot of the classical tradition has kept being used because it's so relatable. You'll go back 2,000 years and find philosophical poets who are complaining about kids today and get off my lawn, that kind of attitude. You'll find people who are writing erotic verse, people who are arguing with their friends. And those themes are really fun to see how someone long ago did it, how you can do it, compare and contrast that, and go from there.
All right. Thank you so much, Keeley, for a brief introduction to your area of expertise and your field. And with that underway, why don't we look at some Reddit OCPoetry creations and discuss them a little bit, and then perhaps if there's a poem or two you especially like, maybe we could bestow some laurel wreaths on them. So let's start with a poem that does incorporate some techniques of meter and rhyme here. How unoriginal. And it's probably short enough here we could just give it a quick read if you want to do the honors, or if you want me to do the honors, either way.
Go ahead.
All right. How unoriginal it is to write of death and time. What's even worse is all your verses always have to rhyme. Iambic this, trochaic that, the hell is an anapest. Archaic structures once well-founded are now only stressed. Revitalize your poetry, reject tradition's sway, embrace the modern age by writing poems for today.
I thought it was fun because it plays with putting the rhyming in the part that is talking about the old meters, and then breaking up the poem visually, like is more popular in contemporary poetry, at the bottom, breaking things in the middle of words for no particular reason. So I thought it was funny.
I mean, I thought it's a clever it's a clever conceit, and I like how it's ironic. I'm not sure it leaves me with a kind of profound or disturbing. I'm not necessarily going to be thinking about this poem a lot after it's done, but it is clever.
The things I'm left thinking about are, is there an anapest in that line, the hell is an
Yeah.
anapest?
Yeah.
Because it would be even stronger if it got into more detail with making fun of the meters. And, it feels like the sort of thing that I might have heard before. So wouldn't it be even more ironic if the poem called How Unoriginal was unoriginal? But I'm going to take it for granted that people posting in OCPoetry are publishing original poetry here.
We really can't be the plagiarism police here, Dr. Schell. I would safe to say that, I don't know, some poems probably are, but I just try to take them at face value.
That would just be a super extra level of irony.
Right. So let's assume that this was plagiarized for a second. I still don't think for me personally, it's not changing my life. So I look for lyric to make me reconsider things, and I'm not sure I'm there yet. Do you want to move on here?
Sure.
Okay. So we have another low tie offering. I discussed low tie in the opening. Low tie is kind of a OCPoetry celebrity. You want to do the honors, or shall I?
I can do it. She left his soul's leave, gentle and easy. One could not see from outside his body, outlined on concrete, the pain he still keeps.
So I'm having a little bit of trouble for such a short poem, kind of completely nailing down the action. I think obviously the chalk on concrete is the corpse. And that's the pain he still keeps. Although how much pain can you keep when you're dead? And then she left his All Souls leave. Maybe she, was a breakup type of thing. It just seems like kind of a Reddit kind of cliche, like my girlfriend left me and I kill self. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the one is what really confuses me. Because that's a pronoun that is basically terrible.
One could not see from...
Who is the one?
Well,
because I was reading and I thought, like you did, that she's like the girlfriend or something and she's there at the scene, she's walking away. But maybe it means she is the soul. She left as souls leave.
All right.
And then I have still no idea who the one is.
So great, potentially very strong conceit to this poem. Execution with the short lines to me is very promising.
Clearly an emotionally charged moment.
Yeah. It's a good lyric situation, but it does leave too many questions about the logistics to my taste. Want to move on?
Sure.
All right. Here we go to the quarry. toes on the edge, clothes on the ground. She holds her nose and jumps. Oh, we got this huge strophe break here. We aren't supposed to be here, but we are. A tradition, swimming here, a diving pool hewn from the earth itself. Your thoughts?
It reminds me of the opening scene from the movie Breaking Away, which is a movie that I
They won't
haven't
have heard
watched
of
for a while, but
they won't know.
if you haven't watched it, you should watch it.
It's a great movie. Why does it remind you of Breaking Away? Does someone jump
It's
off
just the opening scene is they're swimming in a quarry.
Do they jump into the quarry
Yeah.
after taking off their clothes?
I don't know if that's a key element of the scene. I don't even know if there are any girls there, but people are swimming in a quarry.
So I thought this was evocative. I love the hewn from the earth itself. I mean, maybe a little bit of an overstatement, but kind of earned by the poem. The short lines seem to be quarry-like, cut into the side of like a kind of edifice of poetic language. I thought this was an underrated Reddit poem, so it didn't get the praise that I thought it perhaps deserved. I don't know, maybe it could be longer, it could be expanded, but I thought it was evocative and clear.
Yeah, it's very clear what's happening.
Doesn't try to do too much, too. I like that.
There's a hint of danger.
Yep.
Even though "But We Are" is a little bit of a letdown as a follow-up on the "We Aren't Supposed to Be Here." But yeah, it's...
But we are a tradition, so this kind of nod to, precedents as well. I think there's a little bit of a tip of the cap to perhaps poems about these types of topics have been made before. I don't know. It was intriguing. Fully realized? Maybe not completely, but, sometimes you gotta take the good with the bad on Reddit. And I thought this poem had some chops. So, A Search for You. Nice work. In my humble opinion.
Great.
All right. So I think we're on to our last poem here, War Dogs.
Reading time? Okay. Broken stars glowing on the ceiling. Never could tell if they were real. Fans overhead sounding like helicopters. They called us war dogs when we got back and picked up where we left off as if nothing had ever happened. There's sand in my boots from the river, and I dump it out, but it's still there. The Cowboys are playing today. Dad is hollering at the TV. One of the kids crushes a soda can. It's a soda can, just a soda can. In my daughter's nursery, there are stars on the ceiling. It's peaceful in her nursery. I'm peaceful in her nursery. But when she cries, it's in Arabic.
So I think for Memorial Day, this is a pretty topical poem. Clearly it's more of a veteran's poem than a Memorial Day, but it's someone who can't leave the battlefield behind. And the war is still ongoing for the speaker of this poem. Opening with broken stars, I think is, that's a bold opening to just two words, 3 syllables, 2 beats, pretty strong.
Some of the language is pretty rhythmic, which I enjoy even when it's not in a standard meter. There were some spots where I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and I think sometimes that's intentional, that we're supposed to feel this disconnect between what is happening and what he is thinking is happening with PTSD or what have you. But
there's a kind of a stuttering diction to the poem at times. Yeah.
The place where I'm a little bit unsure as to what is intended to be happening is Dad is hollering at the TV, and then he's got his daughter's nursery. So is the dad a dad in a different household? Is this a 3-generation household? It's a little bit unclear to me who Dad is.
I think it just makes a jump. So, yeah, you're right. I took Dad to be the speaker of the poem, referring to himself. So I'm the one hollering at the TV, but he's a little displaced because of the PTSD or trauma. So he's sitting outside himself watching this thing happen. But I don't know. I think the crushes a soda can crushes a soda can. It's overdone. I mean, we get the idea. You could have just done one of those two lines and left it at that.
Well, I feel like that's expressing him getting angry, which I had a hard time reading that effectively.
I see.
But it's like he's like boiling over with like, what is this sound?
Right. Okay. I mean, there's some I guess tonal misses for me. I'm peaceful in her nursery is either a simplification or the language is still a little flat and perhaps overstated. The speaker wishes it to be peaceful, but can't quite, or is kind of I don't know.
I don't know. I thought that the closing was good as it sort of slowed down from the anger in the middle, but then leaves you on edge because he's not hearing his daughter in reality.
Right.
Because obviously the baby is not crying in Arabic.
Right.
He's hearing either victims of some sort of attack that he was present at, or
those like mourning cries you get
from her
at the when people. Yeah.
If
what
I
are
had
those?
to
Ululations?
Ululations, yeah.
Ululations,
if I had to change something about this poem, the part that I felt didn't contribute was the fans overhead sounding like helicopters. Because to me, that's just like, it's bringing in Apocalypse Now.
Do they know Apocalypse Now? Reddit, do you know Apocalypse Now?
Everyone watches Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
All my younger cousins, everybody watches Apocalypse
Now. All
right,
Reddit. Well, if you don't, you got to go get that fixed.
But it's a classic war movie. It starts with a guy lying under a turning fan, and the opening image is helicopters over the great Doors soundtrack.
Right. So ready.
But I'm not sure that that's a relevant allusion to bring in here for this guy's experience.
Well, you guys can't just poach cinema and call it even. You can't just steal the ripest imagery from Francis Ford Coppola and call it a meal. It doesn't work that way. You guys got to come up with your own stuff. So that's fair. Okay, so where are we at here? What do you think? Who's above and beyond here? We leave it to your classical opinion.
So what do you grade on? I haven't seen your ratings before.
I just do whatever.
Is it like what has the most feeling or what has the best writing?
Well, ask them. I mean, they don't think I'm a very reliable judge of poetry. So I think they're just happy that someone's paying attention to them, even if it's as ham-fisted as mine. But now we have an expert. So
I'm an expert on classical poetry, and none of this is classical
poetry. Hey, what's going to last? Okay, in 2,000 years from now, what are they going to care about? They're going to care about war dogs. They're going to care about the quarry. They're going to care about the chalk. How unoriginal. Imagine yourself digging out these papyrus out of the desert. Okay, what lasts? What lasts here?
Either you need a lot of copies of it, in which case the one that's popular is going to last, or you need to cut it into the side of rock. So those would argue for chalk and the quarry, but I'm going to say that I got the most feeling from War Dogs, and I had the most fun from How Unoriginal, so I can't really decide. Sorry.
Well, the good news is we can go ahead and award both How Unoriginal and War Dogs a little nod from our panel tonight. So we'll go ahead.
Should be laurel wreaths.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Reddit offers that, but we'll see what we can do here. So at this point, I will pause the video and dole out some awards and create the thread. I do want to thank our special guest tonight, Dr. Keeley Schell, for joining us. Folks are interested in the classics and folks want to learn a bit more. Certainly some of these folks are exploring their educational opportunities. Is there any advice you have for them? Anything that they should look out for?
What I thought was the most amazingly fun when I was reading was Catullus, but he's hard to find good translations of because people are too embarrassed to translate most of it for hundreds of years. But yeah, look for Catullus, and read what you like. So if you like, science, there's plenty of ancient writers about science, and some of them are writing poetry. If you like lyric the most, then you'll get some really heartfelt stuff from Sappho and Horace, and
Awesome.
check it out.
Thanks so much for joining us. And Reddit, I'll be right back with you. All right. So we did end up dishing out we gave the Giggle Award to How Unoriginal, and for War Dogs, went ahead and did the Masterpiece Award. And thanks again for joining me. Do subscribe up if you're interested in catching our next episode. And thanks again. See you on the OC.